Here are my top 3 ways to support your brain health during this winter. And I'm going to be sharing a bonus tip at the end, so you want to stick around for that. A lot of us walk into winter with this mindset that it's going to suck, it's going to be horrible, we're going to hate it, it's going to be depressing, and literally the worst time of the year. That sets you up for the absolute worst winter ever. If you walk into it with that mindset, it is gonna suck for you. And for a very long time, that was my mindset about winter. It was just like, it sucks, I can't do anything. And that's just how I saw it. And guess what? Winter literally did suck for me because I took no action steps to actually make it enjoyable. And that's what I want this video to be about for you, is I want to show you that, maybe if enjoyable seems too far-fetched, let's at least make this bearable. Especially if you live in cold places, like I live in Canada, and so winter is most of the year. And if I spend most of the year being in this mindset that this season sucks and it's shitty, like I am delaying my own happiness. I am delaying how good that I can feel, and why would I choose to do that? And when I started to change my mindset around winter and I asked myself, how can I make this be more bearable? How can I make this be more fun? Everything shifted for me. And here's, some of the first few things that I implemented and used to make winter be a better experience for me and especially for my brain health. A lot of us, when it comes to winter, why it's so rough, especially on our brain health, right, the biggest reason is like the days get shorter, right? The days get shorter, the nights are longer, and it makes a lot of us feel like we're more homebound. And let's not forget about the weather getting colder, makes us even want to be more homebound because we feel like we can't go outside in the cold weather. And so definitely a couple things playing against us, but when you walk in with that mindset that this can be a fun and enjoyable experience for you, everything changes and shifts. So one of the first things that I do to really support my brain health in winter is using lights as a way to manipulate my brain so that I can wake up easier and stay more energetic throughout the day. As I was mentioning before, one of the things that happens in winter that really affects our brain health is that our circadian rhythm, so that's our sleeping and waking cycle, gets very affected because the days are now shorter. We have a limited amount of sunlight. And so for example, in the summer, I'm able to wake up to the sun at around 6 a.m. In the winter sometimes, and especially now around this time of the year, the sun doesn't properly come out sometimes till 7:30, 8 a.m. So that's a really, really big shift. And so this means that for those of us waking up early, right, like around 5:30, 6, 5 a.m., I love my early mornings, you're essentially waking up in the dark. Now, when it comes to your brain health specifically, having sunlight in the morning to wake up your brain becomes very important because when you think about your hormones, so for example, your hormone melatonin, this is your hormone that signals your body that it's time to fall asleep. Now, because the days are shorter in winter, right, so the sun starts to set around 4 or 5 p.m., we start to feel sleepier around then, and that's because the night is starting to signal to our mind it's time to go to sleep soon, right? Similarly, in the morning, when our eyes, right, see that sunrise, see that sunlight, it actually causes our body to produce specific hormones like cortisol, adrenaline, serotonin, which is what actually gets us out of bed. And now if we're no longer exposed to that sunlight and we're trying to get up while it's really dark, it makes it so much harder to get out of bed because your body's just like, hey, why are you getting out of bed? It's still dark outside. Let's keep sleeping for a couple more hours until it's sunlight. So the light plays a very important role in our circadian rhythms, in our sleeping and waking cycle. So when you can learn how to manipulate light so that you can go to bed better, you can wake up easier, it completely changes the game in winter. One of the things that I have in winter is a sunrise clock. So what happens is that, if I want to wake up, for example, at 5 a.m., what I will do is I'll set that sunrise clock to about 4:50 a.m. So the alarm clock will actually ring at 5, but the sunrise starts at 4:50 a.m. So what's great about this is that, the clock starts to get brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter. And then when the alarm clock actually rings at 5 a.m., it's like really bright. It's so bright, like I kid you not, my entire room is lit up. And as the sunrise slowly starts around 4:50, I will actually turn my head and I will face the clock so that my eyes look at the light and my eyes get the signal that it's time to wake up. It's honestly completely changed my mornings up, and it's made it a lot easier for me to get out of bed. Now, of course, I don't want you messaging me and being like, Vaseline, but this doesn't actually stimulate a sunrise. Of course it doesn't, girly, it's a clock, right? But it does a pretty damn good job of that. So it's really, really helped me have that light. The other thing that I'll do too in the morning, as soon as I get out of bed, is I'll whoosh, turn all the lights in my house on. Everything's on, it's out there, we're shining bright in the morning. And why this is so helpful is, again, it goes back to that circadian rhythm. It's like me signaling to my mind that, hey, we're waking up, buddy. I know it's 5 a.m., it's early, it seems like it's dark, but we're up and we're awake. So this can also make a pretty big difference in how you feel in the morning, especially when you wake up. Because I know for a lot of us, one of the reasons we hate winter is this waking up in the dark. It's so hard to get up in the morning. Now the other piece, right, so let's talk about the evening, because you might notice yourself falling sleepier earlier and not feeling as motivated, right? Especially in the later part of the day if you need to get work done. And so what I will do is I'll make sure, again, all the lights are on, right? It's all bright, the lights are on, and it'll only start to dim the lights around that 8:30, 9 o'clock mark, sometimes 8 p.m. And so this is signaling to my body that, yeah, maybe you saw it was dark before, but now this is really when it's time for us to get sleepy. It's time for us to start unwinding down. And so using the lights in this way makes a really big difference as to the signals my body gets as to when it's time to wake up and go to bed. So I hope that this tip really helps, especially with the waking up in darker nights, and as well as kind of staying up as you need to and kind of making sure that energy kind of sustains throughout the day, especially when the days start to get darker earlier. So experiment with kind of manipulating with the lights and really seeing how that changes the game for you. Tip number 2 to support a happy, healthy brain during the winter, you gotta get moving. The amount of women that I work with, and they're just like, I don't go on walks anymore. It's too cold, or I don't, get outside as much anymore. And it's just like, who said that when winter starts, you have to be housebound? And I constantly hear that excuse of just like, it's too cold, I don't want to go. But it's just like, come on, what are we doing here? Yes, I know it's cold outside. Yes, I know it's uncomfortable. Yes, I see all of those things, but gotta get outside, you gotta get moving. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to get moving outside. I think it's still a great idea. What I'll do during my work day is I'll do these 10, 15, 20-minute walks outside around the block. And I'll do them a couple times during the day because 1, I sit down all the time, and 2, it's just so good for your brain health. Your brain and your body are not used to sitting for hours and hours and hours, and we're definitely not used to being housebound, right? We're so connected to the nature, and our body craves that, and it's so good for our nervous system. I encourage you, bundle up, invest in some clothing that helps you feel warm, even if you are outside, because the more inside housebound you are, the less that you are moving, the harder winter is going to feel for you. I always say, especially in the winter time, make movement be a non-negotiable. If you take medication or supplements, see your movement as just as important as that, because it really is. And what's awesome is that when you move your body immediately releases those feel-good hormones, right? Like serotonin and dopamine and all that good stuff gets released. Your stress hormone shoots way down. It protects your brain against aging. And let's be honest, no one has ever done a workout and been like, oh shoot, I wish I never did that. No, usually we are feeling so good and fantastic after a workout, which is more the reason that we should be doing it and really prioritizing it on a daily basis. basis. So really get moving, and however that looks like for you. I know for me, if I don't get movement in during the day, I'm usually not going to get it done in the evening unless I have some sort of class. So I'll always book like some sort of yoga class or something in the evening. But in terms of doing my actual other workouts or running or strength training, it has to be done in the morning. And I honestly just feel so much better for the rest of the day. So I will literally wake up at 5 a.m. I'll go to the gym and I'll make sure that I get my workout in, because I know that this workout is going to support me and make me feel that much better, and especially support my brain health. So girly, get moving. Find ways to move that make you feel good. I'll go hiking with my friends in the winter, join some sort of fun classes. There's tons of like indoor team sports that happen. If that's your groove, Zumba, dance, whatever feels good to you. Get some friends involved in this as well. If you know you really struggle with movement, maybe you and another one of your friends, like you meet every single week and you're outside and you're walking. The more that you can kind of dress and prepare for winter and keep moving, the better that your brain will feel. For a very long time, I used to hate winter because I couldn't run in winter. And then one winter I was like, hang on a second, who said I couldn't run in the winter? So I got prepared. I invested in those like headbands and those gloves and like some jackets and some other like cozies. Don't even know what I mean by that. All those like warmer leggings and jackets and stuff. And so I invested in all of these things just so that when I would go out running in winter, it would seem like it was easy. Right? So that's the mindset that you want to have. How can you make movement feel easy in the winter time? So reflect on what that strategy looks like and kind of get creative with it, but movement is an absolute must in winter. Lastly, the last tip I want to share with you, and yes, there is still that bonus one coming, so just wait for it. Get your vitamin D levels checked. Just do it. Just do it. Like, take a step back and ask yourself, have you gotten your levels checked yet? Especially if you live in a colder place. If you haven't, you should be booking to get your blood work done like literally tomorrow. I know that you hear this all the time. All the time. This isn't new to you. Yeah, I work with so many women all the time who are just not checking their levels. And I get their blood work tested and their levels are just so low, and lo and behold, they feel like they have no motivation. They feel like they have no energy. They generally just aren't feeling really well. And something as simple as vitamin D and supplementing with that can make a massive difference in their health and how they're feeling. So it's a really simple action step that you can do, but makes such a big difference. We're not fully sure as to how vitamin D affects us, but we do know that in our brain, we have vitamin D receptors. We also know that vitamin D is important in the production of some of our happiness and calming hormones like serotonin and GABA. We also know that vitamin D plays a really critical role in our circadian rhythm and sleeping and waking cycles. It's important for energy. So vitamin D helps so many different things in our body. So having adequate levels is very important. And what's interesting too, right? I had one of my patients who, even if sometimes you live in a sunny spot or sunny area, or just because you go on vacation, right? If we don't expose enough of our skin, you still might not be getting enough vitamin D. And what's really important is that you go and check your levels instead of randomly supplementing it. Vitamin D can actually build up in our body because it's a fat soluble vitamin. It's not like our B vitamins that get excreted as soon as we pee it out. And so this means it can get toxic essentially, right? If it builds up in our bodies because it's fat soluble, our body stores it. I actually had too high vitamin D levels. I literally started supplementing in August. I was like, winter, you ain't gonna get me. So when I checked my levels in October, they were actually a little bit too high. So I took a bit of a break from it. And I'm gonna go again in January to get my levels checked again. Just for personally me, I think it's important that you get it checked once or twice, even in the middle of winter, so you can make sure that your values are at a healthy level and that your body is feeling really supported in this way. So super important, get your vitamin D levels checked instead of supplementing them, randomly on your own, and talk to your doctor about this and kind of the best way to supplement. I usually take vitamin D drops, and that's kind of how I support my vitamin D levels in winter. And last but not least, the bonus tip. My bonus tip for you to actually make winter be fun. schedule one fun thing a week. Like, actually be super intentional about it. If you know winter for you is just absolutely miserable and you hate it and you want nothing to do with it, that's okay, right? If you know that's you, then I encourage you, like, this year, build a strategy around this. Actually intentionally schedule one fun thing every week. And if you actually want to enjoy winter, maybe make this be like a winter activity. Maybe this is a year where you will maybe try out skiing for the first time, or you'll try out skating. Or maybe you'll get outside and maybe you and your friend will do a workout outside, or you go on a hike despite it being winter. But whatever it is, schedule one fun thing. Maybe you're trying a new restaurant, or you're going to the movies, or you're doing a paint night or pottery or whatever it is. Do one fun thing every week and make this be intentional. So maybe Friday, right? Fun Friday. So every single Friday evening, you're planning one fun thing that you are going to do and being really intentional about that. This is how you make things fun. Like, this is how you make winter be better. You have to really be intentional about these things. And the same goes for me. It's not like I wake up in winter every single day and I'm just like, oh my God, I love this, right? I have to wear a thick, heavy coat. And like, the sun doesn't come out till like 8 a.m. Like, whoop, I love this. No, there are times when I wake up and I'm like, this is miserable. I'm in Toronto, Canada, and like, it has literally been raining the past couple of days. And so the rain with like the cold weather, I'm just like, ugh. I would literally rather it be like 10 degrees colder and it be snow than it be like rainy and cold. Like, not my favorite season at all, or favorite time. But it is what it is. I'm not gonna let the weather determine my mood. And so I've been trying to be really intentional in making sure that I'm trying to have some fun and still try to enjoy and make sure I'm keeping my mindset in check despite the weather not being its best. So these are my tips. I hope they helped. We talked about manipulating your lights, right? So in the morning and in the evening, talked about moving your body and literally seeing that as medication in the winter, and talked about getting your vitamin D levels checked. And the bonus tip was to intentionally schedule one fun thing a week. At the end of the day, girl, this goes back down to your strategy. The better your strategy for winter, the happier and the better your brain will be in winter. You got this. Comment below and let me know what action step you are taking to support your brain health. And lastly, if you want amazing brain health and you're ready to make 2024 be your year of the hot girl brain, I encourage you, girly, book a free assessment with me and let's talk about what brain health support looks like for you. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for showing up for yourself and engaging in this information.